Hello. Well, this is a small introduction to the sixth series, because those of you who know me already, who have been practicing with me at the studio or who have been practicing these past 5 series, you know that I'm really interested in the subtle ground. So I like to work on, from the very first day, to feel the energy in the body, to refine the awareness so you can feel subtler and subtler things and connect with the energetic level. I usually say that whatever we do with our physical body, it has a reflection, it affects what is happening at the energetic level, how the energy moves or how it doesn't move, where we can feel it more, where if it's denser, if it's lighter. Also, the other way around, when we play with the breath or the energy, because breath carries energy, we are affecting what is happening in the body. So in my practice, a lot of times we simply go into a posture and start doing breath work or energy work in order to change the alignment so things start happening at the physical level. Because at the end, they are simply different layers or different expressions of the same thing, which is the being. Yeah? So this in the yoga science or Ayurvedic science, which is the science that there is underneath the yoga science, the universal energy that moves everything and that we call prana, has in the body 5 different movements or functions. And in the next series, in the 6th series, I'm going to work on at least 3 of them, but I would like to briefly explain all of them. Yeah? So we have, so within the big prana in caps, we have the prana vayu, the function called prana vayu, which is the ascending motion, the upward movement of energy, which is responsible, it keeps us motivated and happy, but also it's responsible for our capacity to observe things, from the intake of energy through the breath, the intake of energy through food, the sun, but also new thoughts, new ideas, yeah, that all comes, so it's the intake. Then we have another really important energy, which is the descendant energy, the downward movement, that it's really important because it allows us to get rid and let go of anything that we don't need anymore. You know, that works for the poop, the pee, the mucus, the sweat, but also the menstruation for the women, but also all the ideas, stale energy. We need this descending energy that allows for us to get rid of all these old things. And then out of all these 2 working together, there is another energy that springs, which is more or less in this area, that it's called Samana. And Samana energy is all about the assimilation of all these 2 energies. You know, whatever is the result of what we let go and what we intake, then we need to be able to absorb it and assimilate it. Otherwise, it's just there, but it's not doing anything. So there is this really important energy responsible for that, which is Samana. Metaphorically, the yogic texts talk about Samana being a result of changing the senses of energy. So apana, which is a downward movement, start moving up, and prana, which is an upward movement, starts moving down. You know, for me, that's just a metaphor, because really, I believe that I feel that both movements of energy are happening at the same time. But first, let me explain you about the other 2 Vayus, or functions and movements of the big prana. One is vyana. Vyana is the expansion, yeah, when we shine outside, you know. So all this result of energy that we finally assimilate needs to be distributed everywhere, and everywhere is everywhere in our body, but also everywhere outside the body. So I like to think about vyana like the shining energy, yeah. And then the 5th energy, it's uddana. Uddana energy it's related more with the spiritual aspect of the practice, with allowing lower energies to rise into the higher centers of energy. So it's also related with the enlightenment process. Those of you who are have a little bit of how the idea of how the Kundalini works. So, you know, Uddana movement, it's related with the movement of the Kundalini through Sushumna Nadi. If you're not interested, it doesn't matter. I never talk about Kundalini in my classes, and usually I don't talk about Uddana Vayu, but I talk a lot about apana and prana, and sometimes about Samana and vyana. Why? Because prana and apana are two energies that you can always feel. Yeah. So let's start with apana, the downward movement. We know that it exists. We know that there are things that are moving out of our body. We know that, you know, it's happening all the time. And then there is an amazing force in this earth, in this physical realm, that it's gravity. And gravity, it's affecting the body, it's affecting everything that it has mass, that it's physical. Any matter is affected by gravity, and gravity is obviously a downward movement energy. So sometimes, a lot of times, apana, the downward movement within, and gravity, they work together. They are kind of the same thing. They mix. You almost cannot tell which is one and which is the other. So when we work in apana in the next series, we're going to play with gravity because it's fun and because it's good to feel how we can play with gravity in a way that we are not fighting it, but we are using it. And then out of this downward movement, this gravity movement, there is like playing with a basketball. You know, there is this bouncing back of the ball. You just push it down, like gravity forcing something down, and then there's this bouncing up movement that happens naturally, which is the prana movement, the ascending, the upward movement. Yeah, so one needs the other. And out of those two, then there is samana, which is, and then we need to work on assimilation and absorption so we can expand it to everywhere, vyana, and shine. So in the sixth series, we want to do one practice of apana, and then one practice of prana, and then one practice of samana. But because one doesn't work with the other, I will be mixing them a little bit. Yeah? So I will see you on the 6th.